walk the streets with my swagger on, supernatural, facing 1 million opponents, and my role is to act alone. Lights, camera, when the action's on. Where I'm home is a battle zone. A vigilante in the catacombs, but I rock with a hot shot like a clock when it's cocked and popped and the lead is wrong. People say that my head is gone, but it's the...
Oh, what's that? Let's get that off the screen. Who put that there? Oh, I did. I'm Mike Watson. I put that there because I got a Kickstarter going on, and you guys should go check it out. If you've already pledged to it, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You guys are great. But that means you can share it. If you have not pledged to it, you can share it too right after you pledge to it. It is specifically for this show. It's Chat and Draw. And you're like, well, what is this show? I don't know. This is the first time I'm watching it, Mike. I don't even know what it is. Oh, that's great. It's okay. It's a show where I sit down and I draw at the virtual art table, and across from me sits a colleague or 2 or 3 or maybe 15, because that's how I roll. Show's been going on for over 100 episodes. We have a super duper art book that's coming out with the Kickstarter. Not 1 and not 2, but 3 art books, plus some Jazzy Faye t-shirts with the Chat and Draw logo on it, with some sketches and some art and all this jazzy stuff. Hey, it's real cool. Kick over to that link, check it out. But don't shut this window with us on. All right, you keep this window up, you minimize it a little bit, then you go over and you go look at that Kickstarter. We're sitting at $4,166, and we're at goal. So what better time to pledge to the Kickstarter? Because we're funded. That means it's gonna happen. You're gonna get your stuff. It's guaranteed. You add on to it, because the more that we get, the more that we can do. And I'm trying to tell you, you want more. All right. What we have coming from Short Fuse Media Group and Freestyle Comics is a reckoning of comic book kingdoms. Okay. It's going to be ridiculous. It's off the chain. You don't even know, but you should know. All right. That's enough shameless plugging of my Kickstarter. I'll do that a little later on today. Hey, J-Man, what's up? The streak continues. 113 episodes, 114 episodes. Lost count. All right. My episodes are all out of order right now because of how we've been scheduling them. It's crazy. I've been trying to make it work for everybody, but we'll get it through. All right. J-Man's in the building. What's up, J-Man? Good to have you. Good to see you. While you're here, we are streaming live right now to Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And, I did all that stuff. I did all that pitching for my Kickstarter. And you're probably like, well, who are you, guy? I don't know who you are. That's okay, because I can answer that question. I am the publisher of Short Fuse Media Group, the founder of Freestyle Comics, 1/4 of the agents of the nerdy, and the most enthusiastic person in comics. Mike Watson, your host today and every day that we have Chat and Draw right now. That's what we're doing here. I'm feeling real frisky, man. Look, let me tell you, I had a little roast beef before I started this show, right? My wife cooked this roast beef. Oh, tender. That mug fell apart as soon as I stuck the fork in. Just meat collapsed. It's like the movie just said, I'm done. And I ate it. I did. Had some potatoes and carrots. Danny, I had carrots. All right? There. They were baked. And I've been eating salad. I don't want to hear nothing from you today. But look, we're here for some chatting and some drawing. All right? Now, I'm very excited. This is a project that I've been working on for, I think, maybe almost a year. Almost a year. Look, almost a year. And I have not been able to show nothing. Dude, it's been killing me. This is a project I'm working on with Veronica Smith, the killer with the colors, and Danny Cooper, editor-in-chief supreme of Freestyle Comics. Danny's on the letters, Veronica's on the colors, and I'm doing a little dabbling with some writing, but I'm doing the drawing. That's the heavy lifting that I'm doing. And this project is real cool. We got 2 mini books done, and we're working on a 3rd one right now. I'm actually going to be working on a page live while we talk on it. But we actually got a full house tonight. We're waiting for a couple more people to get in here or whatnot. Let me check my messages, make sure I have not missed anything. Oh, yeah, we're rolling on Twitch. We're rolling. Yeah, I think we're good. All right, so let me bring a couple of these cats on out here. Let's quit playing games. Let's dive into the show.
Here comes a new challenger.
Oh, what's up, everybody?
Hey.
Okay, we got newcomers up in here.
All right.
So first off, in my top right corner, let me do it like this because I've been doing this. Oh, there goes somebody else. Okay. All right, I've been doing it like this. So we're gonna do this in order. Veronica Smith is the lead colorist and head honcho comics. Veronica, let everybody know who you are and what you do. We have a little bit of delay.
Hey.
There we go. Veronica, tell us some of the projects you're working on.
Let's see. I've got Nick Davis's like, what am I not doing right now?
Right.
Working on drawing a couple books for Nick Davis, his teddy bear tales. I do all the art on that one. Let's see. Just finished off Blackmore #2 for Echelon. I helped create that one, and I'm doing the colors. Got Eater Messias drawing that one. Let's see, just finished #2 for that one. Let's see. And then just started another one called Ulrius Jewels for Echelon. And then almost done with colors on Zero Event. Got like 3 or 4 pages left to do on that one. I feel like there should be more, but I can't think of what. Well, and then eventually we'll be doing Hotshot and Vigilance. But...
Oh yeah. So Veronica's a very busy lady. She's very popular in the coloring field. She colors 75% of freestyle comics, and she is the colorist on this project. Next up, Roberts. Tell everybody who you are, my good sir.
That's awesome, man. You're great at this, Mike. This is my first time, by the way, doing anything like this. So, Robert Mora, industrial design engineer from The Ohio State University. I've worked all around the country-ish. I've been in this field for quite a bit of time. I loved comic books since I was little. In fact, that's how I got into art. My brother and I used to collect comic books. We used to draw comic books. That's how I learned how to draw. So I have a passion and love for comic books since I was little. So when I started working on this project for Verisyme, which you guys will hear about, it was just an awesome, I guess, project for me to work on to finally do comic books. I've designed everything from medical equipment, sporting goods, robots, whatever out there that you touch and feel, I've worked on. So for comic books was something I'd never done. So I love it. It's Sebastian, who's my nephew, you'll get to meet here in a few minutes, owns and runs a company called Verisyme, and I run and own a company called Koala, AwakenKoala, which is a design studio, mostly doing web design, graphic design, product design. And in this case, we're doing graphic in the comic book area with the help of Mike and his team. So it's been an awesome experience. I loved it. And this is something that I hope we keep going and doing for a long time with you guys. So thanks, Mike, for letting us invade your space in this podcast. Hope to do it more often and do more of what comes in the future for Captain Verisyme.
Awesome. Let's get Sebastian up here. You're on mute.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you for having us here today. I'm Sebastian, and my uncle Robert just spoke a bit about what we do here. And Mike, thank you so much. It's my first time meeting most of you and actually doing anything like this as well. But we have had contact with Mike working on this project, and it's truly we're so excited to finally be able to start sharing stuff, to start sharing things. Just to explain a bit about myself, we have a company called Verisyme Global, And what we do is we connect disaster risk education with foreign language education. Working with children, sometimes it's difficult to send across a message appropriately. That's why we're so happy to be working with you guys, your amazing team, and creating this superhero, Captain Verisyme, for the kids to much easier understand.
Awesome. And last but not least, editor-in-chief of Freestyle Comics, Danny Cooper.
What's up, guys? Thanks so much for having me on here today. Excited to be on the show. Having a little technical difficulties at first, but I think I'm good now.
Awesome. So who are you? What do you do, Danny Cooper?
As you said, I'm editor-in-chief for Freestyle Comics, but I think that also kind of doesn't focus on all the additional stuff I'm doing for FSK. Not just letters, exclusive letter for all of our titles. Also writer for Heroes International and Basement of Doom, and editor, just editorial responsibilities on all of our books, from Zero Event, Hot Shot, Vigilance, Heroes International. Not really editor for Emerald Quest, but I'll do my thing with that as those titles come along. And anything that we're having Cypher, so really busy, and my cat is photobombing me here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Actually, ton of work that we do over at FSK. So let's go back to a regular view here. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna get ready to pull up a page and start working on it. But this project was really cool. And Robert, I'll probably start off with you if you want to explain like how the dots got connected to where we got started. All I know is like when I got contacted about it, and all I saw was comic book potentially for China, and I said, hell yeah. I didn't need to know anything else. I was like, hey, let's go. Let's figure out how we can make this happen. And the project has been just really fun. I actually have this is the opening page for one of the new books that I am laying out here, and I'll be penciling in today. Robert, let you and Sebastian lead the way. Like, how did this project even get started from your end? Because this is, for me, and I don't want to speak for Danny and Veronica, but I think so too. This is the first time that we've actually worked with a graphic design company that's connecting us to a project that's in another country. So while Veronica and Danny and I have tons of meetings and how we talk and work through our projects and whatnot, it's been a different type of thing working with you guys and in meetings and stuff coming from the corporate area, which it's not a bad thing. It's just been a different experience, and we've learned a lot from it. So if you guys want to start to talk on that.
Sure. Well, it was funny, the way that kind of this whole thing sort of started was, as I mentioned, Sebastian's my nephew, and he's been working in China for quite a bit of years, and every now and again I get an idea from him or from my sister, who's his mom, telling me about what he's doing, what he's working on. And when he was in town a little bit back, he'd mentioned to me what they were doing. My brother and I are both industrial designers, and he was asking us, can we help him with some input on what he was working on? And we did. We gave him a little bit of input, and then he kind of was talking about getting this character, Captain Verisyme, in a way to help kids understand how to potentially survive through a natural disaster. So he asked us, would we be willing to help create this? So actually, my brother and his daughter created the first Captain Verisyme, which looks very different than what we ended up with now. But it was a start. That was sort of like the seed that started part of where we're at today. I came on board once I was with AwakenKoala, to bring in our talents of graphic design, communication design to Sebastian and Verisyme. And when the comic book part was talked about, we thought, well, how are we going to get this? I hadn't done this type of work before, but it was always a dream. So I spoke with our Koala team, and actually Mike Gundich, who's a partner of ours, knew Mike Watson through some other contacts at Ohio State. So he actually gave me his contact, reached out to Mike, and that's where it all started. We met at the library here in Worthington, and just sort of showed him what the comic books that I kind of loved and graphic novels that I love. I read those all the time. And we just started, figuring out, is this a good fit? Is Mike able to help and work with us? I've never worked with that type with in your category. So it was really interesting being able to see how you guys work, how we work, and then get that going. And so that's a little bit from my end. Sebi, if you want to bring any of your input from how this started as well.
Yeah,
Maybe more.
of course. Thank you. I think you hit the nail right on the head here. We actually started working with children back in 2018 in China. I graduated from a university in this small city on the beach, actually where the dragon meets the sea, the Great Wall, and it's called Qinghuangdao. Population about 3 million people. Small in China, granted. Regardless, we really had an opportunity preparing for an air show and having taught English myself to kids for about 2.5 years. It just made sense naturally to continue working with them. A company like VG, our goal here is to add lasting value to this world. And we believe that the world needs more global startups. Captain Verisyme is just that. He's a global superhero who's meant to protect children and to give them the tools through the comics, through videos, through different varieties of educational materials. We hope to give these children who go through disasters, who go through emergencies, tools to be able to deal with difficulties like post-traumatic stress disorder themselves. Recently, I think I saw a study, guys. It's interesting. 70% of children have to internalize and deal with these problems themselves. Captain Verisyme, that's why we created him. No one's alone. Everyone can be Captain Verisyme.
I think that's actually a really interesting point because my father, he actually suffered from PTSD from multiple experiences in his life growing up, non-military experiences, but he came from West Virginia, and there was a flood when he was a young boy in West Virginia, and PTSD was definitely something that impacted a lot of the people in that area. So that's really cool to hear that that's also one of the targets of this project.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly. So, I think Sebastian knowing and letting me know what we wanted to do with this was in what he said about the global superhero. It's something that we're so used to seeing superheroes very Americanized, but we wanted to create sort of a hero that could be a global hero that could help everybody. And that was one of the things of how do we bring the design, the art into a character that looks somewhat global. We didn't want to make him look like your typical, a strong-looking, muscled-out superhero. We wanted to have him look somewhat. Maybe he's not, a thin character. Maybe he's a little more, has a little more stout to him, more like maybe a real person might be seen around. So we were trying to bring a little more humanity to the character from the input that Sebastian had given us, because we tried a couple variations of the development of Captain Verisyme through the months that we worked on until we finally hit that final one. But being able to create a character that can hopefully go into this whole idea of saving kids in all areas of the globe, not just in China, but in India and Africa and all over the world through all these different natural disasters, and how we bring that education to them. It's something that was really critical when we were trying to develop the character.
Yeah, there was a lot. The process for character development for Captain Verisyme was a lot, and I enjoyed it. I saw the initial designs, I looked at it, I was like, that's not a superhero, but we'll make it work. We'll figure. These guys are they're very open. And so like I was trying to figure out how to work it in. Like, so is that the final design? Because when I saw the initial design of them, I knew instantly. Don't worry, Veronica pops in and out where she lives at. She lives out far, so her internet's a little bit spotty. So she'll just pop back in when she gets the signal again. But I instantly saw that I wanted this character to be round and robust. I wanted him to be this big, inviting figure. I didn't want his size to be an intimidation factor. I wanted it to be like people could run up to him and like instantly hug him and feel welcome and things like that, and make him look unique from all the other superheroes or supervillains that we have out there or whatnot. So like he really stands out. Like the McDonald's sign. Like when you see McDonald's, when you see the Disney symbol, you instantly know what those things are. And I wanted people to be instantly recognizable of Captain Verisyme, like as much as I could, to try to make him look unique from what's out there. And I personally wanted to challenge myself to draw something besides just muscles on this superhero. So I'm always trying to switch it up when I can. And luckily, the guys here on this project were giving me a lot of creative freedom with this character.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. I mean, one of the things that I've learned in my field managing projects is, giving the freedom to the folks that are doing the design work, the development work. You want to put the faith in them, give them the ability to create what they want, because then that's where that passion, that's where that innovation comes in from the folks, when they know that they have that freedom to bring their own inspirational ideas, their inspirational thoughts, and then really that's where a lot of the magic comes through. So it's really interesting. I was just listening to the podcast. It's about Marvel Comics and the history of it. And it was just really interesting about how, they were talking about the fact that Stan Lee he would really design characters around what he thought was right, not what everybody wanted to see, right? Mm-hmm. So that idea of it was really interesting because it was kind of like what we were thinking about. It's like, how would we see a character that might not always look like your typical superhero?
Awesome. Those things played a big factor in there. I remember our first meeting when we sat down at the library, and obviously this is the first time I met Robert, and he went straight to the comic book session and he just started grabbing all these books. I'm like, oh, I know that one. I know that one. Oh, Robert knows his stuff. He knows comic stuff here. This got even more excited. Like, because it's great when somebody knows the actual thing about comic books or into comic books, to add on to the fact, like, no, I'm not a casual fan. Like, no, I like comic books. I read them. I know about them. So I knew a lot of the language that I would use wouldn't go over his head. What's up, Daniel? How you doing? Wouldn't go over his head, and he would understand these things. And like, so when he's saying that he wants a comic book, or they want to work on a comic book to put it over in China, like they are for real. We want an Americanized version of a comic book that we want to put in China. And I was like, that's right up my alley. Like as soon as like that was the thing after we talked, like I immediately text Veronica and Danny and said like old girl from Ghostbusters, we got one. Like, this is a good one. We're about to be in here working. Like it just going to a whole nother country is just like something all its own that makes the venture worthwhile. Sebastian, do you have something?
Yeah, Mike, thank you for saying that. I keep on putting myself on mute by accident.
You're all right.
I wanted to say being in China is such a cool part. And I thought that working with artists such as yourselves, even for me, I can't draw. I wish I had the artistic talent you guys had. But I've always loved comic books. I've loved anime. I love this part of the world. And what we're doing there is more than just China 2. It's more than just disaster education. It also combines foreign languages, which is something that's pretty interesting. Here I have, I brought our 3 flags, actually. We are a global company, granted, but we offer classes in Chinese in Spanish, and also in English.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Incredible.
Yeah, Captain Verisyme, he's a messenger for all of that. So this is a surprise as well, Mike. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
Oh no, I haven't seen that yet.
This here, it's a prototype. We want to hopefully make him as good as he looks in the comic books one day.
That's up.
Remember, one of the things that we wanted to do was, one of the issues was we wanted to create two versions of Captain Verisyme. One, which is what Mike is drawing now, and another one was the plush version, because we wanted to. We had this sort of challenge from Verisyme, from Sebi, saying, can we do two variations in a way that the plush version might be a more interest, maybe a way to get the younger kids to be more accepting when they see that plush version, right? So that was another thing that Mike and the team worked to help us get to that plush look for Captain Verisyme.
Yeah, that was certainly a major obstacle, just dealing with children of varying age groups. We focus more so on ages 3 to 18, but as I know, you guys also know, teaching an 18-year-old compared to teaching a 5-year-old is just so completely different in the methodologies, in the information that you share. In disasters too, emergencies like fires, volcanoes, they can be a scary thing. So someone like Captain Verisyme, really being available like in this friendly, plushy form, you can cuddle with him. Like you can, he's like a pillow that it's a comforting symbol. It's a good sign.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd cute and cuddly normally isn't my thing, so it did present a unique challenge for me, which is part of the design that I wanted him to be round, so that carryover would happen with it. And I think we came up with a couple of great ideas with using the cute and cuddly version as backflash moments to tell stories in the past or whatnot, and then the more surreal comic book version for up-to-date stories or whatnot. But Danny Cooper, how was your process of approaching the lettering in this? Because you actually start lettering on the layouts on this one.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing that I've always done. The first is and this project's a little different, where we're working on we've already got some content that's already made, so kind of using that sometimes as a guide. But what I always do is just kind of going at it and making sure that it makes what the approach makes the most sense for the reader and that it's easy for them to follow. It goes along with the story, and then the best I can is to try to if you're looking at a sound effects like the explosion we have in the second issue, doing what I can to make that a part of the art and not just kind of letters there on top of the page. That I always like to do. For me, it was a similar approach that I always go with in lettering books, and being able to letter against the layouts actually makes obviously finishing out the final project or the final step a lot easier, because it's minor adjustments, minor cleanups. It doesn't take as long because I've got most of the letters already on the page in Illustrator. What I will say is the one thing that I've been very impressed with is working with this team. So obviously, this is the first time I'm meeting Robert and Sebastian, but is just I appreciate how serious you guys are about actually getting this, and not just creating, but getting this done and getting it finished and rolling forward with it. So that's been nice, and just making it a priority to hurry up, get the work done, and move on to the next one. It's been a fun approach, and I love working with you and Veronica. It's we've worked on several projects like this, and outside of what we're doing at Freestyle Comics, and I gotta say, I think the three of us work really well together, and it's always a pleasure being able to work with you guys and put some letters on top of the artwork that you and Veronica are creating.
Awesome. I definitely agree, which it was a no-brainer for me when I said, like, when I was approached about this, and it was like found out that we're actually doing this comic book, and it'd be a series with some pinups and stuff like that. some of my favorite parts about this is like the collaboration between Veronica and I and Danny. It is almost like silence. Like I can draw the pages, put them up there. Danny can letter them. Veronica will just start coloring them, and like there's literally no communication between us besides, hey, the pages are up there. Like we've worked together and done so many projects together. We know where to pick up where the other person leaves off. And like if something is said is just like, all right, say I saw this and this didn't look right. So I can fix it, or do you want to fix it? Like that's pretty much it. Like we've been working together for like 5 years now on different comic books and stuff. Veronica, whenever you can put in there, like what has your experience been like coloring this book versus any other ones? Because you know this one is, you know, in a different country or whatnot. Has that affected your coloring style?
I feel like it really hasn't.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like in my mind it was like I didn't really treat any different, but I did try to. I think somebody might have said that. Charlie, sorry, kitty troubles.
Kitty cat.
Comic or something, or maybe I'm confusing it. But I was trying to kind of go for more of that, those kind of bright colors, and they're gonna be more indicative of kind of a classic look.
Yeah, there is actually a page Veronica colored that is my favorite freaking page. Actually, like and again, she's out in the boondocks, man. So her internet goes in and out, but she'll be back.
There she is.
There she is. Actually, there's a cover here. There's a couple projects that we want. I can't even name what my favorite one is. So I'm just gonna show you guys a couple things. Let's see here. Application window. Where we're at. Okay, here we is. This cover was super fun. This is like a dragon storm causing flooding and things, and Verisyme is flying right out here. Homage cover to Invincible. Shout out for that one. Then we did.
I love that one too, Mike. When it was funny, the way I love the way that we collaborated on how we wanted to have those cover art posters. And I think that to me, the collaboration is my favorite part of an entire design project. And I'm just saying design in general, right? Whatever I'm working on. So when we sat down and went over those, to me, that's where I can see the ability for our different skill sets to create something, and then, you know, kind of put that in your hands and in your team, and then see what comes up. And when I saw those, it's like, damn, those are awesome. And that page, yeah, I love that page.
This is one of my favorite pages that Veronica colored. Like I love the colors. Like it's a simple, straightforward layout or whatnot, but like she killed the sun, how it's rising in there because it's supposed to be early morning or whatnot. And like here goes Danny with the letters. And this is one of my favorite things that Danny does in the letters. If you see in that fourth panel, instead of like putting that, like just the way that those letters are looped back there and they're kind of a little bit transparent, but it matches the crowd reaction. It's like Danny just has a really good knack for like doing that for the sound effects. And it's like a literal, it's like his art form that he takes to another level that I just really enjoy very much. And so these are just some of the pages of one of actually the book before this one that we did. That top panel took me so damn long to draw. Oh my goodness.
Well, all that detail, you know, of the nuclear facility there. Heck yeah.
I mean, it was worth it in the end result, but long time to draw. But
it turned out awesome.
Thank you. Here's an example of what we're talking about, like a little bit of the transition. This is our main comic book style for the book for whenever we're telling stuff in present time. And then this one we get a little bit more cartoony, and that's our cartoony, cuter version of Captain Verisyme when we're having a backflash moment. And here's the letters. Like, it's amazing. And if you guys tuning in and watching right now, if you don't understand how much each level of this like just adds 100 to the comic book, then you need to go study some more comic book stuff, because that was just a color page with no text on it, and now you get the text thrown on top of it. Like, it absolutely completes it, and like the lettering is just as important as the artwork or the color work or whatnot. So, which is why Danny does the letters or looks at them at the layout stage, so we can figure out the proper spacing for the letters so they fit on there, so it's not all jam-packed or whatnot.
And Danny, you did an incredible job too with the lettering, if I have to say, for the Mandarin, the Chinese. I've personally never read a comic book in Chinese or bilingual before, but you made it work, and we're really just excited. The pictures you showed, Mike, those are my favorite too. I love the explosion with the words and the waru.
That right there, that whole boom, like Veronica gives it like that heat value that's coming in here with the smoke and the fire from panel 1 onto panel 2 and 3 or whatnot. Like, that's there. Like, it feels hot, but then you get the icing on top of that bad boy, and it becomes one. It's a symmetry, and it's just fun seeing all this come together. I think this is like my second favorite page because we're introducing our first villain in that one, and like that's fun. Like, it's like being, I don't know, man. Like, I wonder if this is how the Marvel execs like have their meetings about their comic books. So like, we'll be sitting there, Robert and I'll be talking about the story and what we're trying to do and whatnot, and like I'm quiet for 2 minutes, and all of a sudden I just explode. Like, I got it. Here we go. So we're gonna do this, do that, and like. These guys are cool, man. They pretty much just let me do whatever comes to the story.
Well, I think that's the like I mentioned, managing projects. I think the best way to manage a project is to allow your team to create and to be to bring out their best work by letting them do it and not micromanaging every little detail. I think that's really where projects succeed, allowing the team to bring in their talents and their skills. Mm-hmm. And then whenever Mike and I would sit down, or Seven, we would sit down and talk about something, and then Mike would just be like, "I know, I got it," and I'd be like. It was awesome. So
it's classic Mike right there. Yeah, absolutely. We've had a lot of creative discussions just in general, and that's exactly how I can see that happening. So, yeah, I've had a lot of those light bulb moments with Mike. They're great.
And I feel like, and I think this is something that's happened subconsciously, and then I feel bad for Veronica because then I draw all this stuff, and then she has to color all this stuff, like that. That storm dragon thing, like I used a whole new brush on there, and I know everything was not closed off because I left some of it open for that smoke. I know Veronica was cussing me out when she was coloring that thing.
Well, hopefully she enjoyed doing it, though.
I did. That's one of my favorite ones too.
Man, and it's hard doing these things because I want to make it like it's fun for me to draw, but like as I'm laying it out or working from a script, I'm trying to make it like I want it to be something dope that Veronica's gonna enjoy coloring. Like when she sees the page, she's like, "Oh, this is gonna be fun." Like for me to figure out how I'm gonna get into this and like it's not boring or mundane. And then at the same time, like where can we put the sound effects at for this? Or like I don't even like I just leave a spot saying yeah, these are sound effects because Danny is really good at making sound effects and writing them out or whatnot.
I think Mike just likes to have me sitting at my computer making weird sounds, trying to figure out what it would sound like, and then visualize it in letters.
I do. It's a good time. Oh, Rogue Squadron podcast in the building. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? And if anybody has any questions, please ask them live. We will answer your questions or whatnot. I'm actually doing a pretty good job of monitoring both while drawing.
Nice.
Sebastian, how do you even get a project like this? How does this even unfold? And my second question would be, how do you pitch this in a meeting saying this is what I want to do?
You know, it's a combination of many things. If you asked me when I was a kid what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would tell you my favorite movie is Twister, and I want to be a weatherman. Going to China, coming from like a multicultural background, my parents, my mom's from Ecuador, and my father's from Chile. So growing up, we spoke Spanish, and I like speaking with people. I like working with people. I like helping people. This project is really a culmination of all of the favorite passions, the best things that we enjoy in this life.
Awesome.
But Mike, I would also say on that note too, our team, we take this work very seriously. We do this for professional reasons, but also for personal reasons. Many of our team members have had family members, sometimes as close as their own kids, having dealt with just tragedies that could have been avoided with prevention, with early education, and your guys' work. The work that we're doing here, guys, it's featured on the other side of the world, but it's going to save so many kids' lives, and that's why we do it.
That's awesome. That's really awesome to hear. You know, growing up, being a comic fan my entire life, I think most U.S. comic fans probably had this one comic at some point in their collection, and it was Marvel's like anti-smoking comic. But it was about education, you know, providing kids this educational understanding about the health risks of smoking. And this was back in the 80s when this came out. It was Spider-Man Storm and Power Storm versus Smokescreen. And you know, I feel like being able to work on some type of educational comic project to help teach kids it's kind of cool for me, because again, this is something I grew up with, and now being able to work on something in that same vein is a really cool opportunity. And knowing, like what you know, Sebastian, like you just said, that this is going to help kids, you know, on the other side of the world, and just educating them, and whether they realize they're learning. I'm sure this is a matter of, like, you know, whether you realize you're actually learning something and this is educational. They are learning what to do and how to be prepared and things like that. So that's really cool to know that we're a part of that.
Thank you, Dan. It's exactly right. That's why we're doing this, and working with the professional team such as yourself. You guys just make everything so easy. And this was a company that also was created before the current situation of COVID-19, the pandemic. So just after the fact, we just wanted to give it our all even more, because this is the reason why we're doing this, for reasons like the current situation.
Now, do you see future work being, you know, obviously this is more natural disaster, you know, focus, but do you see future opportunity to focus on things like medical pandemics and things like that?
It's a great question. We are, and we started as a focus with natural disaster preparedness and emergencies, but we are very open-minded as a company. We want to add value, and if that comes in the form of infectious diseases classes, which we have now since the pandemic added to our curriculum, but also climate change, teaching about endangered animals, many different things to make this a better world.
Great.
Very much very much more of a sustainable side of it, right? Bringing sustainability into this world of comic books. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that when Sebastian mentioned that, I thought, yeah, what a great project to work on in an area or in a a space that's awesome that we all love, right? Art, design, comic books, storytelling. It's all what a way to be able to, what a chance to be able to work on a project like this. So it's definitely something that's been a dream come true for some of us.
Absolutely. So I want to ask each one of you fine people, what is your origin story? Like, what is the story of how you got your power to do the thing that you're doing right now? Very interested in Robert and Sebastian because you guys are both the heads of the companies that you're at right now. So, and then Danny, I know you have some very interesting stories. I know this, but some of our viewers may not. And Veronica, I actually don't think I know your origin story, so I'm dying to hear. So whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
You know, I'll go first really quick, just because this is where my origin story starts. Back in when I was maybe in the 4th grade, maybe 3rd grade, our teachers asked us to write a letter to ourselves, and in that letter, write what you want to do, write what you want to be when you grow up, right? So we wrote the letter, and then they gave it to us in 8th grade when we graduated from St. James de Les here in Columbus, and I forgot about the letter, but later, a few years later, when I was just going into industrial design here at Ohio State, I found the letter, and I read the letter, and it said, you know, what I want to grow up, what I want to do is I want to be either a professional soccer player or I want to design rockets that go into outer space. At least I used the word design. I got close. I got to design some robots over here at Battelle Memorial. But my origin story that's part of it, that as a kid, I knew that I wanted to do something with design, and I didn't know about it. And like I mentioned, my older brother's an industrial designer as well. When he'd come home, he's older, and when he'd come home and show me what he was working on, I was like, that's what I want to do. So my brother is my hero. And my origin story started back, you know, when I was little, knowing that I loved design in some manner.
Awesome. That's great. Who wants to go next?
I'll follow suit, I guess. The origin story here. I would say the origin story of how to get involved in this, or why, it was that summer back in 2019 when we did our first annual shelter competition, where we basically had around 100 kids on the beach. We simulated an earthquake, and we had them all go into small groups with different basic materials, building shelters, teaching this way to survive and respond after disaster. This was before VG was VG. We were a logistics market research company back then. And just from this one event, a moment really stuck with me when a young mother approached us in tears, and she was crying. And she said that the work that we're doing, she wished that her other family members who had been through these types of events were able to receive this much sooner. Now, when that happened, and after like the air show mini events, I remember walking away with Rasul Kosekov, my friend from Turkmenistan. We finished this class and we said, holy crap, this could be something. And that was when we had the class. Now we have the messenger. And this is certainly a way to make kids pay attention.
Awesome. Veronica? Coming.
I love Veronica's internet.
It's frozen.
If you want, I can jump in there, Mike.
So it's hard for me to talk about myself.
There we go.
So like I don't really think about myself as having an origin story. Like So we're gonna go Danny, or do you want me to go?
Oh yeah,
try to.
No, you go ahead, Veronica.
Yeah.
Oh, it might be Danny.
That looks great.
Yeah, so I don't know if this will work. We can try something here, Veronica. If you can hear me, try. Let's see if you can stop your camera and see if maybe that'll
maybe you can join us through audio, and if you just
Yeah.
the camera, we'll see if that works. Are you there with us?
Well, you just go with Danny right now, and then she'll pop. She'll start talking
All
to us
right.
again.
Yeah, I know she was just saying she was having issues the other day, and
How-
there we go.
Not-
Maybe. Let's see. Go ahead. Yeah, doesn't sound like. Okay, I'll dive in. So Robert, my origin story is kind of similar to yours. My brother was my hero. So growing up, my brother was about 6 years older than me, and he was into comics. He loved comics. He actually had been diagnosed with leukemia probably around 10 years old, and so he spent a lot of time in the hospital, a lot of time in the house. He couldn't go outside, so he what he could do was draw. So he drew all the time. He fell in love with comics because you go to the gift shop and they what was always brought up to him was some type of new comic that was down at the gift shop, and he really fell in love with comics. And him being my older brother, I wanted to be just like him. So I remember at 6 years old is when I first. It's weird. Like I have this very specific memory at 6 years old where like he handed me off one of his old used sketchbooks. There wasn't a lot of paper left in that sketchbook, and I remember finishing a drawing of Spider-Man that he had drew, and he wanted to be an artist for Marvel Comics, and that also became my dream and my goal. And unfortunately, at the age of 13, I was about 7. He lost that battle with leukemia. So at 7 years old, like a classic, superhero type story, or here, like I vow to achieve this in your memory at 7. So it may not have been a very realistic vow and promise, but my love of comics never stopped, and it really directed my life from a young age, from the friends I've made to the colleagues I have today. And it took a while before I got to the point where it was like drawing comics may not be my thing. I love art, but maybe drawing comics isn't my thing. Worked with Mike and several other artists in the Columbus area, and eventually broke off with some friends, and we did it started out as a button company making pin back buttons called Mutant Cactus. And I started designing. I did probably well over 100 designs for that. And it was just kind of more of a getting my artistic outlet and being happy with that while working a 9-to-5 job. And then that was really successful. And then we branched into doing Mutant Cactus Comics, and we produced our first.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude. So like when he says really successful, he had an ongoing deal selling these buttons in Singapore, that they were buying them on a regular basis. So this isn't Danny's first situation with out of the country sales. So we're not going to just speed over that. We're going to give you your flowers on that.
Appreciate that. So yeah, we branched off and started making. We did our first comic called Tales of Awesome, and I did. That was the first book I ever lettered, and it was terrible. I just not good. And then we started working on a comic strip created and drawn and written by Robert Gant called Blue Collar Invasion. And I started doing letters on that. And that I would say is where I really got into not just doing letters, but really starting to approach some type of like an editorial approach, cleaning up artwork. It really got to where Rob would write out the story and he would kind of pitch me the final art, and then I would clean it up. I'd put the letters on it, and then we'd post it online for our weekly strip. And then right around that same time, at one point, Mike, Hotshot issue 5 came out, and he was looking for someone to do letters, and was like, hey, do you want to do letters on this? And that's where I'll say I fell in love with actually lettering comics. Fell in love with the sound effects, and it's been interesting. It's kind of almost been this double-edged sword, because now I overanalyze letters in books, and it can pull me out of a comic, and just when I stare at like these letters are not as good as they could be, and I recognize that first and have an appreciation for anybody that letters comics out there in the industry, and the importance that role has on between the reader and the story. The importance between the the writer, the artist, the colorist, and making sure that everything they put on the page, from the storytelling aspect to the tone based on the colors they put on the page, and doing my best to make sure that those letters complement that. They don't take you out of that setting and that feeling, that emotion, and just kind of help bring it home. And if I need to clean some stuff up, if it's making sure that the story's actually being told in the right manner. And that's actually how I got into the editing was, as I continued to do letters for Mike, it got to a point where I was getting to the we would get to that lettering stage at the very end. A book was done, and I was kind of brought in at the last minute to do letters. And it's like, hey, what's here on the page isn't really matching what's on the script. And it allowed us, we worked with a few writers in the past that wrote novels, and they were just breaking into writing comics. And it gave us an opportunity to say, all of this is not going to fit on the page. There's a lot here. There's a lot of context that's being applied that we need to take out because the pictures give us that context. Let's break that down. So Mike and I have had a lot of sessions where it went from, we've got a final page, we've got a script, let's go through this and let's do some cleanups. And it's just kind of grown from that to the point where I've now found myself as editor-in-chief and allowing Mike to kind of hand that responsibility over to me as he focuses on being publisher for Short Fuse. It's been an interesting ride over the last 20 years, but yeah, my origin story started at 7 years old in this, when my brother died of, I'm going to achieve this dream for you. And then kind of finding myself achieving that dream in one way or another. I'm not drawing for Marvel Comics, which, I'm perfectly fine with, but I'm really happy with what I do. And getting to work with amazing talent like Mike and Veronica, some of the really great writers of the new books we've got coming out, some of the fantastic artists. It's very interesting to see how things work out. Two things. One is my brother's best friend growing up. He still kind of he lives in the Ohio area, like kind of near Columbus, and we linked up a while back just through Facebook, and it's really cool hearing from him. And he's like, "Your brother would be so proud of you if he knew you were making comics." I'm like, "That's an awesome feeling." And the other piece is very interesting, whether you believe in psychics or not. My mother actually went to see, there was a famous psychic here in the Columbus area called Tanahoy. I don't know if any of you guys know him, but he was on like WNCI a lot with Dave and Jimmy and things like that. My mom went to go see him years ago. Very, very skeptic of the experience, but this was probably 18 years ago. And it's weird to me is one of the things the guy told her was that I would be creating comics and I'd be okay when I got older. And kind of here I am, which is interesting. But yeah, that's my long-winded origin story here.
Well, Danny, I think you should you guys should work on that comic book right there, your origin story. I think that's a beautiful story, man.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, dang! We got a little bit of time left. So this new issue of Verisyme, we followed the classic routine. We had an action-packed jumper to get you on board, little quip, some action-packed whatnot. Second issue, we graze over with some hints of the origin story, kind of give you a feel for what Captain Verisyme represents, what he's here for. And then the third issue, we punch you in the face as we start to really dig in. As you can see, I think this has become my thing because I didn't even realize this until I started talking. But every third issue that I have ever worked on, where I was drawing it, the character is dead in the first page. I swear to God.
This is the opening page of Hindsight number 3 and Vigil.
Yeah, I was thinking that I was getting kind of a
yeah. I didn't even realize that. So I'm sitting here drawing this. I'm like, I've done this before. So I think this is just going to be my own running gag whenever I'm drawing a third issue of a book. But we have Verisyme laid out, all right, completely laid out. He's done some pretty fantastic things, and for something to lay this guy out like this, you are immediately pegged and curious and like, what's going on? And I'm probably drawing something that's going to annoy Veronica, but I'm trying to draw these little raindrops in the water because it is raining. It will be raining on top of him or whatnot. So we're going to dive deeper into his origin, and this is going to be one of those classic switcheroo stories, which is I'm very excited about. And this one, I don't know, Robert. Like, how would you describe like the creative process between all of us here? Because I know like Robert set up a system that I do very much so enjoy, but then like he sets up the system. It's kind of like we go off this chart, and then we loosely plot it, and like a day or two later, I've written it and done the layoffs off of our meeting. So, like, how would you describe how that works, Robert?
How would I describe it? Very organic. No, it's funny. That was one of the things that I had to get used to working with you, Mike. In my field, working in a corporate world or working more with engineers and scientists, when we're putting together teams to brainstorm over a concept, over a solution, we're trying to solve a solution, right? There's this very, I don't know if I'd say methodical way of doing it, but there's a process of how we do collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
And because of COVID, luckily I was doing online collaboration working in my last company because it was Nestle's a global company, right? So I was working with designers and engineers globally on projects. So we would do things online quite often. But when we started working with Mike and in your team, it was a little bit of a departure. It was not as, let's say, stringent of the steps that we were taking. So what I did was really loosened up the way that I would work, or how I was accustomed to working with other talented folks like yourselves, and letting your skill sets, letting your guys' team be a little more, or lead a little more, and then seeing how that worked out, which I think it worked out pretty well in the first one. Second one, that's kind of where we started using more of the digital whiteboard.
Yeah.
Where we have an online version of Mike and myself and Sebi looking at images, looking at what we want to do. As we're three of us are brainstorming in this digital whiteboard, all of us are bringing in images, started telling the story of how we want to do it. One of us is, writing text. Another person is bringing in images or examples of other comic books into this big whiteboard, which to me it is sort of how I work usually with other in other projects. So it was still bringing in that methodology that I used to work in the past, but a little more loosely with the digital whiteboard and with the collaboration of you guys. But the interesting is then once you, Mike, send me sort of an update of those pages, and then I take those pages and then I don't want to say putting them more in a corporate language.
Yeah.
I'm used to putting them into a way that I put them in PowerPoint in a presentation of, this is just because to me, it's like I have to be able to, if I can understand what I'm seeing with, some text, some images, and then sending that to the Verisyme team, then I'm hoping that they can understand what we're putting together, making it easier for all of us, the artists, the designers, the managers, management team, Sebi's team, all of us to understand what we're getting from the beginning to the end. Because one of the things that sometimes happens is, is that telephone game. It could make a project really be detrimental. So knowing, what we're doing from the beginning, that's the part where I end up being able to take what Mike and his team is putting together and then putting that almost, let's say, putting a bow tie on it, making sure it's communicated properly, and then sending that out to Verisyme and to Sebastian's team so that they can see what we're working on. So those steps, even though I share those presentation files with Mike. I don't know if he's ever shown that to Danny or to Veronica, but it's a way for me to be able to understand what's coming from Mike and his team, putting that together, and then sending that out to Verisyme and their team, hoping that they understand what we're doing.
Yeah, and working with Robert, someone who I've known since I was a little baby. It's certainly a pleasant, unique experience. But the thing that really matters, especially to us, my family, our family, is that when you're working with family, when you're working with people you trust, you have confidence in, you can let the experts focus on the experts' work. And we have our heads full with education and with teaching. So to really be working, focusing on the student, the classroom, it's just we really appreciate it. VG does, being a young company such as ourselves.
So I have a question for you guys. I know we've talked about the international market and targeting support and release in China. Obviously, it makes me think of the recent tornado that just hit in I think Alabama here like last week in January, which just seems crazy to me. Obviously we've had the last few years have just been unprecedented with the wildfires in California. So is there a plan or a target market in the U.S. that you're also focusing on that you would like to get that information out to?
Great question. Yeah, absolutely. We have our courses offered in English, Chinese, and Spanish. So we have bilingual courses. The students can pick which one is to their interest. Here in the U.S., what we did is we reverse engineered the program. So we're teaching U.S. students about disaster stories on different continents, teaching them with their choice of either Mandarin, Chinese, or Spanish.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's interesting for me. I mean, I think a lot of times we tend to, just in general, people tend to only not look too far outside of their bubble. I think where Mike and I live, we tend to have, weather-wise, it's not, Mike's from Cleveland, so he's used to heavier snow than what we typically get here in kind of that Columbus, Ohio area. But we tend to luck out with weather that's not too crazy. So, flooding is not so much of a concern, or not that we don't get tornadoes or things like that here, or severe, intense snow and things like that. But sometimes I think it's hard for us to look outside that bubble of what we're used to and what we experience to understand the importance of that education. And I in my 9-to-5 career job, I work with a team in India, and they're in 4 different locations there in India. Specifically, our teams in Mumbai and Chennai. They've had issues with typhoons hitting, and it's very eye-opening to me and learning about what their experience is like, and what they have to be prepared for when those typhoons hit several times a year, being there on the coast. So I think this, really happy to see this type of work being put together and giving kids, not just kids, but anyone that may read it, a chance to learn something about how to be prepared for these disasters.
Thank you, Danny. Yeah, Columbus. Actually, I went to Ohio State, go Bucks, and Ohio State's on the same line of latitude as the city I used to live in, Qinhuangdao, China. So we have like similar weather experience. Of course, Qinhuangdao's on the beach, but a fact that not many people know is that the continents that are most affected by disasters, natural disasters, are actually the North America and Asia. For every one disaster that happens in Africa, 10 happen in the US, in North America, 15 happen in Asia. And in China alone, 200 million people are affected every single year by these things.
Sebastian, what was the fact you told me, like, that I think you said that China, like, is the one place in the world that has the potential to experience every single type of natural disaster?
You got that. Every single region in China is affected by at least one type of natural hazard. And China has every single type of natural disaster. except for volcanoes. But volcanoes do occur in Taiwan. They do occur in the ocean there. So China does have that, but not on the mainland as much.
That's crazy.
Lucky we live in Ohio.
I know. Like, I was driving home today, and I was on the phone with my brother Victor, and I was like, man, I don't like these roads right now. He's like, what, Mister? I'm from Cleveland. No, roads is like Cleveland. That's the problem. When I'm driving in Columbus, it's on easy for me. But now these roads is just as bad as when I was back at home. I think that is. Oh, man.
You know, another cool thing for education, our FEMA was created back like in the early, like let's say 1960s. The equivalent of the Federal Emergency Management Agency in China was just established in 2018. So their FEMA, they're dealing with disasters. This is a whole new focus, and they want to become leaders. So let's give them some tools to do that.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I was really surprised, Sebby, when you mentioned that to me, that China had just started putting some of those natural disaster education in their population. You know, you would have thought that they would have been doing that quite often, especially with. I grew up loving Godzilla movies. My brother and I used to watch Godzilla Saturday, afternoons, the black and white versions. And there always seemed to be disasters going on in Asia. You would think that they would have had some, FEMA-ish type of organization.
So that's interesting because I think I'm done here, fellas, with this first page.
Beautiful. Looks really good, Mike.
I'd like to do that replay on there. It'll actually do the layout for the whole book. I do something I just started. Like, I do the layout on one page and just separate the layers so I can have that video to play how I lay out the entire comic book. Oh, and not which I'll give to you guys too. But since I'm done with this page, and I'll be sending it off to Veronica for colors. Who you got? Team Kong or Team Godzilla? That's how I'm closing it out.
I'm gonna have to go with Godzilla.
Robert?
I was just watching the new Godzilla on Netflix, the animated, which is really awesome. I would have to say Godzilla because he's unstoppable.
Veronica?
Yeah, I gotta go Godzilla with his little blue lightning-y, like.
Okay. All right. Danny Cooper.
I want to go Kong because I love me some Kong. Like, I grew up watching Kong before I was watching Godzilla. But after, if we look at just the continuity of the last 2 or 3 movies, if we include Skull Island, Kong does not stand a chance against the radiation and the powers of this Godzilla. Plus, he doesn't have T-Rex arms. So I think Godzilla's going to throw some hands too. Unless they find it, and I know we got the tomahawk, the little axe, and we see the blast. I don't think Kong stands a chance. I think Godzilla's going to fry him to a crisp. At least give us some long-term radiation poisoning. I just don't see how he pulls it off without a giant hazmat suit that protects him from the radiation. It's going to be a bad day for Kong.
Hey, you know what? That's pretty cool. I love these opinions, but your boy Kong is going to look like this first page of Verisyme.
They already captured Kong. Think about it. They already captured Kong. He already lost.
I'm Team Kong. Realize that axe he has in the trailer is one of Godzilla's dorsal fins. My man ripped off his fin and then turned it into an axe, and he is going Stormbreaker Thor on Godzilla in that trailer. Look, y'all can sleep on the king if you want. All I'm saying is he's got thumbs, people. He's got thumbs.
I'm with you guys. Kong doesn't stand a chance.
Mike, I'm gonna pull Eminem out.
But Godzilla's got more teeth.
And what is the
Godzilla does have more teeth.
Mike, to quote Eminem, what is a king to a god? Kong's going down.
What is a god to one who doesn't believe? Kong bows to no one. So look, everybody, I want to thank everybody for tuning out. Brad said this is a very, let me see where he said it. This episode has been very interesting. Many thanks to all involved. I want to thank everybody for taking time out there night and day to come over here and watch me ink and draw the first page to Captain Verisyme number 3. This book will be featured over in China, the Chinese School District, which is very, very awesome. I want to thank Robert and Sebastian for taking the time to come out and hang out with us today. Of course, Danny and Veronica. So it's cool that the whole team got to meet each other. It's actually split up on my screen. Like, this is the art team and this is the graphic design editorial team over on the side. So that's pretty cool. If you guys have any closing remarks, like where can people find you on social media? Here is your moment, Danny Cooper.
Freestyle Comics, of course, and also at Office Geek 82, you can catch my my nerd ramblings there. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Veronica, where can everybody catch you at?
Besides the Freestyle Comics Facebook page, I also frequent Instagram quite a bit. Wrong corner. V_Smith 84 is my Instagram. Besides art, I have a lot of pictures of cats and food. So if you like cats, food, and comics, come find my Instagram.
Awesome. Also, Veronica Smith is coloring a good portion of the Chat and Draw art book. She is doing all the covers, and then she's got a stack of individual characters that she's coloring as well. So you want to pledge my Kickstarter so you can get some more of her beautiful colors on top of my work, because she is boss. Sebastian, where can people find you at?
Yeah, you guys can check us out on Facebook or VerysymeGlobal.com. VERISYME Global.com.
I already put it in the comments for you.
Hey, thank you so much. And it's been fantastic to meet the full team. We've seen your guys' work, but you guys are, in your stories as well, are as motivating, as incredible as the work you guys do. So thank you.
Awesome. And Robert, where can everybody find you at?
I'm more old school. Definitely at the KoalaDesignStudios.com, our website, obviously, for Koala. You can find me on LinkedIn as well, Robert Mora. But those are really it. I really need to get on the other social media platforms. All of my partners are like, you got to, get on there. But I don't have the time. But I should.
I understand. It is a lot of work. And you can find me on all social media platforms as Most Epic Arts. That's where I be at. That's where I reside at. Most importantly, is I put the link for Verisyme in there, and I put the link for Koala Designs in there as well in our chat. You can catch me at that link for the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter is on and popping right now. If you did not know, I got the Victor Dandridge Moana McAdam perk going right now. You can get Wildcard Chronicles #1, The Trouble with Love #1, and a preview of Never Too Late #1 for pledging to my Kickstarter. These are free comic books, people. Free comic books that you are getting just for pledging. And I have tiers for everybody. There is a $5 tier as well as a $25 tier. Whatever fits your budget, there's a tier level on there. So please go to that Kickstarter, check it out. I got 6 or 5 days left on there. I got one more creative perk that's coming out, and I'll be unveiling that on the 4th. And I'll be the last one to close it out strong. So please go check it out. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank all my guests for being on the show. I believe next up, I got Brad. No. Big Ja is on the 16th. And then I got Dan Doherty with Floppy Cop on the 9th. And I got Paige Alfred coming on, but we haven't picked his date yet. And then those will be the last episodes of Chat and Draw until we come back for the season premiere of season 4. I've been burning the midnight oil. I've virtually done an episode of Chat and Draw every single day, excluding one day, trying to, spread the message. But go check it out. You guys have a good night. I got some more roast beef to eat. So I will check you later and stay epic, everybody.